So first I'd like to introduce the keynote speakers. We were going to have Joao Pitta. He's a director of water management at NEOM. And Lars Christian Fredenlund. He's the CEO of Cobuilder. I'm super excited about this keynote talk because it looks at a design phase digital twin. And they have done a proof of concept last year. And I think there's a lot of learnings from it and a lot of ways that the entire water sector could really benefit from some of their learnings. And I think the two keynote speakers today will share with us some of their visions of how we as a water sector can move forward with digital twins. So with that, Joao and Lars, please come up here. And Joao's, so this is to go forward, this is to go backwards. Okay. And Lars, if you want to just sit down until...
Hello, good morning all.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Gigi, for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be here and to open the discussions with you. I would like to thank the SWAN team for the invite and accepting us here and the last support in the last few weeks. Let me start by introducing the team here with you. We will be eager to talk, to discuss, and to engage with you on solutions. NEOM is a total greenfield. We are located in the northeast part of Saudi Arabia, and exactly like the image is showing to you, there's nothing there. So we are working on the extreme opposite of the majority of the digital twins that you're talking about. We now have 3 approved regions that require development: the Line, Oxagon, and Trojena. All of them available on our website. And the challenge is that these regions are extremely different from themselves in terms of architecture, in terms of master planning requirements, and above all, on how the water system needs to be approached. On top of this, we have an internal challenge as well. NEOM today is a startup, is a huge startup environment where people are arriving every week. Roles change. We have more than 64 nationalities as per last Thursday. So there are several different ways of working. We need to engage properly internally, and that's a huge, huge challenge. On top of that, it's a high visibility project, and there's the need to deliver on time and on budget. We are based in the Middle East. Specific market design practices, specific climate requirements. So everything needs to be addressed very different from my previous practice, for example, which comes from Europe or South America. It's totally different. How do we communicate this to people? How do we pass the message on how we want our assets to be designed? And we thought of this and we came to a conclusion that we needed to implement a strategy, something that allowed us, independently of the experience of our partners, on how the stage of the company is, we needed to communicate effectively. And we came up with the idea that data is the glue. Okay, we cannot be smart without data. That's something that we all agree upon. And we start thinking of how can we make data flow from the design stage till operation and maintenance phase. All of you fight today and do huge efforts to acquire data from your systems, from your assets. We have the unique opportunity to do it right from the design and from the procurement stage. And from this, we mapped our business needs, which is what you have here on the blue boxes, throughout the different phases of design and asset delivery. And then we mapped them into processes. And we thought, we need to support this with documents. We need to have procedures that people clearly understand. And those procedures need to have clear boundaries. Where does one stop? Where does one end? And you start thinking, okay, how are we going to communicate this to the outer world? How are we going to explain this? And we have implemented a market outreach strategy so that we can teach, or at least try to explain people what we are trying to achieve, which is acquiring data in the right way from the first step. And with this, we last year went on a journey with several of our partners here in the meeting room today. And we implemented an architecture and we tested it with 2 big projects that we had undergoing during 2021. And the idea was to cover that full value chain of processes that I've presented in the previous slide, but mainly get buy-in from the stakeholders. And for that, again, we need data. We need the ability to showcase what we are trying to build. When we talk about water quality, what are the materials that we are applying? What's the chlorine decay curve? How is the water sector in NEOM planning and demonstrating that it's going to achieve its targets? All of that, we thought of a platform that could help us on visualization, and we aimed for ESRI at this stage. We needed a common data environment where everything could be shared, even internally with our own stakeholders, and we went through Ecodomos. Then we thought, how are we going to do procurement? How are we going to get information from the market? And I'm not going to go into those details. Lars is going to make a dedicated presentation on that. But this was something that we thought, okay, here is the opportunity to really make a change. And then on top of all these tools, we had Obramatics combined with the hydraulic model to provide us all the design optimizations that we need. And it worked, and it proved successfully, and we learned a lot. And it's out of those lessons that we are here today with the invitation to collaborate with you. The main outcome that we found is that we need a data standard. We need a clear data dictionary so that black is black for Joao, for any other people in the room. Black is black, white is white. And today, if we look into pipe requirements, valve requirements, the attributes of each one of those assets is different. So Min will be having a dedicated discussion this afternoon on a roundtable about our approach to this subject. Would like to invite you all to attend. I think it's a very, very interesting topic. Product data templates, as I was saying, it's the way we believe to talk to the market, to talk to manufacturers, to talk to suppliers. It's a way to have standardized informations. Lars, again, is going to talk on this. And then how to collaborate. How can we implement properly the CDE? And then we'll be giving you also a discussion on a roundtable on this topic. We need to change the way we work. We need to be effective, and above all, for a project like ours, we need to avoid rework. All of us in the room know it's really, really hard to get it right the first time. Not only we have the pressure, as we have a lot of eyes on us, so all the opportunities to reduce that risk, we need to grab them. How do we see that happening? We would like to share with everybody in this room our learnings. Only by sharing we can learn faster and we can avoid further mistakes. We believe SWAN has the unique opportunity with all the technical groups and expertise here to give us further insights. And again, we will give everything that we've learned, it's up for sharing. There's a clear also invite for Blim for Water. I was hoping that Jamie was here, but next time. Partnerships. It's a way for us to discuss ideas, to gain further insights, and to help each other. And this is something that I see Jennifer just right in front of me. She gave a very interesting discussion on Singapore about the learning curve. This is our main goal. Reduce our learning curve so that we can, again, do it right. We face the challenge of silos. The company grows very fast. Again, how can we deal with this challenge? How can we promote change? How can we manage the change itself? Making sure that the data thread is clearly understood by everyone. And last but not least, only by sharing and collaborating together, we can bring innovation to the water sector. That's our vision. NEOM has the opportunity as a greenfield to become a significant investment, but by itself it will not be able to raise the bar or to change the behaviors of the industry. Only by working together we can improve the challenge that we all face. And thank you so much for your time. Looking forward for engagements.
Hi, I'm Lars, all the way from Oslo, Norway. I'm going to present on the topic of data, structured data, machine readable data, asset data, There's many words, digital thread, many words on this topic. But I just want to start from the top. When we started this journey talking about structuring data and developing data templates, we needed a way of describing what we want so that we can get what we want. So if you just look at apples, there are over 7,500 species. So if you just say, I would like an apple, you will get an apple. But there is a lot of information that is relevant. How many calories is it, how much sugar, whatever. So all this information and this data, we have to move as an industry from PDF, Excel, manual exchange of data to automated exchange of data, so that we can copy and paste already design that we've done, reuse information, send information between actors, so it can be done digitally in a machine-readable way. So the gap that we see, the industry as a whole, and I'm working within water, infrastructure and construction as a whole. So I'm working with government standardization bodies, many actors, contractors, manufacturers, vendors, and there is a lot of challenges now. We are facing huge topics like sustainability topics, circularity, decarbonization, to measure the impact of the industry. So how can we get data to close this gap between all the different stages that Joao mentioned, but also between actors, between software, all these things. So when we look at other industries, they have come together to agree that even though that they are in different countries and that they have different IT systems, they can still communicate and move information between each other. So this is what other industries has been doing. So, and this is the focus on what we, Cobuilder, are working with, to develop an infrastructure, a data pipes that can be used to send, receive, or hold data. To make this happen, that's a long, long journey. This is 10 years ago in Europe when I worked with very large contractors, building infrastructure, water, all sorts of things. So this question were raised, how can we make it happen? So we understood that we have to go via the standardization. So we need something that governments, association, actors can trust. So then we've been working in Europe in BIM standardization, BIM standardization group, to develop standards that can support two things: a data dictionary, a process on how to create attributes, so it can be used, reused, trusted by anyone in the industry, and also data templates. And that work finished during COVID. So it came out standards on the left-hand side. It came out two very important standards that came out, which is the enabler, which can make things happen. And then from that, the already existing frameworks of product standards. So if we talk about assets, there is standards around the world, different standardization bodies. So if we look in Europe, we have a standardization body called CEN. Globally, we have ISO. Here in the US, there are many, like ASTM. But all those bodies actually have standards that describes the requirements of products or systems. So then all these data sources, it doesn't have to come from standard documents. It could come from work like BIM for Water have done. They have developed an Excel, which is a very good starting point, educated. What information do I need for different purposes? And also, I would like to mention specifically, there is a new standard which is now opening up on the environmental product declaration, which means that when you declare a product to market, it's a data template that can support exchange of information to measure carbon footprint from where it's manufactured to actually where it's installed. And in this picture, I've also been working a lot with identification of products. So there's an organization called GS1, been working a lot with that. And I just have to say that that is also very important to identify what is an asset. Other industries have done this. If you go to the grocery industry, you will hear beep, beep. The whole industry is using standards on how to identify assets, which I also think is important. And then when it comes to the data template itself, it can hold all sorts of information. And it's not kind of a database with products, it's just an agreed way of saying this is how we want to structure information. And you can say this information is relevant for asset operations, this is for environmental impact, this is the technical specifications that I need during design, these are the energy, these are the geometric information that I need, and so on. So it's kind of a generic holder of information supported by this framework of standardization. So that means that if you create the requirements, asset information requirements early in the building lifecycle, you could reuse that, copy paste, because you can trust the information and it's universal, linked to all this, the framework of data sources. So that means that this introduce something technically, it's called API. I won't go into the details, but it's a way of, again, like the bank industry, to agree how do we exchange information between different software. And that software can be anything, but data needs to be exchanged in a common way across actors, not only in the water industry, but within all industries within this area. And there's a lot of software. So I've been working with large organizations also like Building Smart International on this topic. So this is a huge topic, but now the framework is there. And what we did with NEOM was to develop data templates on pipes and pumps. So, and then looked at how this information can flow in between the different softwares in an automated way. So that brings us to the future, which means that I can design something and I can reuse it. And then that information can be sent between actors on what do I want. And this is done by machines, which again will allow us to use machines, which is artificial intelligence, and we can make design go faster. We can get rid of all the manual information, which very often is transported via people, email, Excel, PDF. And that's a huge leap for the industry. So today we have kind of Joao, you mentioned it like a silo. We have many softwares, actors that are not connected. So if we look on the challenges which is in front of us, how can we stop carbon footprint increasing the use of carbon in construction and in infra? How can we do it practically? If we have no data, how can we do it? Like, how can we, like the car industry, know what kind of pump is installed where? The car industry will not allow a pump to go into a car if they don't know exactly what it is. And they have to have a link to where it is. So we as an industry also have to do that. So that means that to make that possible, to connect the ecosystem, this is the journey, and this is actually why the standardization part is so important, because now we are working with governments, with like the wood industry. We developed 12 data templates for wood, which means that 120,000 companies can structure data in the same way, and all the different softwares can use it. That's called APIs. So the connected ecosystem is very important. So the water industry, is it local? No, it's global. So that's important to understand, and to connect all these regions together, I think that is where Swan, and I also, to be honest, I also believe the work that BIM for Water have done, because they have been actually sitting, working, developing good works, Excel files to describe data templates based on their needs. But to make it digital, that's kind of the next step. And this is what we have been working on with NEOM. So to be able to connect all the different actors, vendors, all the different stages in when we design and operate, we need standardization. So the example I made with Swift is just an explanation of what the industry needs. So this is the starting point where I am here now. So this is what I would like to invite you guys to understand, because a lot of this is knowledge. And one other topic which is important is change, because it's a huge change. Change is difficult. That's people. That's actually one of the most difficult things. So I'm just inviting you to further discuss this topic of data templates. I would like to thank Gigi for being so passionate about this, and all the other actors working in this proof of concept with NEOM. Thank you.